Hello, welcome back to English for You. I'm Seb.
I'm Kat.
And we are looking at impossible builds. We're on our day 2 article now.
That's
what happened last time, Kat?
Okay, so we were talking about the new Discovery Channel show called Impossible Builds. It's a show about architects and engineers, probably civil engineers, that create amazing structures, including skyscrapers and houses on the sea.
Right.
Wow.
They use revolutionary techniques to bring their visions to life.
That's right.
Yeah.
So we learned about a couple of different architects and developers. One of them was Yosef Klinedinst and his plan to build a lot of 5-star hotels in some very difficult places, some islands off the coast of Dubai.
Very difficult places to build because there's no shade or drinking water. And what else? The island was made out of sand instead of rock. So what did he have to do?
He had to compact the sand.
It, yeah.
That must have taken such a long time.
Yeah, right. And it must have cost a lot of money.
Yeah.
Millions of dollars, in fact. But the question we were asking last was, would he finish his construction?
Well, I don't think we're going to find out today. Like we said, you have to watch the show.
Yeah,
that's why, we kind of leave you on a little cliffhanger there. But we are going to look at some other developers and architects that are doing some other really cool builds.
So let's take a look, shall we?
Reading.
Impossible builds. Another Impossible Builds project is also in Dubai. However, architect Marco Bolzoni isn't developing an island. He's building a houseboat called the Floating Seahorse. Unusually, the kitchen and living room are above the water's surface, while the bedroom is underwater. It has a huge plastic window created by a firm that usually makes aquariums. However, Bolzoni finds it difficult to make sure this window won't leak. If he can solve this problem, he'll build a total of 90 floating seahorses. They will float in the calm, shallow water of a harbor, safe from strong waves. The last project is the Scorpion Tower in Miami, Florida, U.S., designed by the world's famous architect, Dame Zaha Hadid. This enormous tower will contain 83 apartments and cost no less than $480 million to build. Its revolutionary design means that the columns that support it aren't on the inside but the outside. The developers hope it will rewrite the rule book about building skyscrapers and become a symbol of Miami. To see more of these bold building plans, check out Impossible Builds on Discovery Channel.
So, we're back in with our Day 2 article, and the first line is, another Impossible Builds project is also in Dubai. Remember? The United Arab Emirates is a very hot country in the Gulf of Arabia.
Yeah, so I think Dubai is the site of a lot of really interesting architecture because they spend a lot of money on it.
Is it the biggest city in the UAE?
It might be. Dubai or Abu Dhabi. It's one of those two.
One of those two. Anyway, big city.
Right. However, architect Marco Bolzoni isn't developing an island like Joseph Klinedinst. He's building a houseboat called the Floating Seahorse. Oh, that sounds fun.
It does.
Yeah. So a houseboat is just like what it sounds like. It's a house that's on a boat. It's a boat that's a house. But we're talking about a floating one. Floating is a verb, and it's our first vocabulary word here. It's the continuous form of the word float, which means that something can stay on top of water instead of going down or sinking.
Very important.
Right. By adding an ing to this, we can put it in front of the noun seahorse and make it like an adjective. Things that can float are usually pretty light, or they have a lot of air inside them, like boats or paper or bubbles can float. Even people can float if they learn how.
Can you float?
I can float, yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Can you float?
I can, with practice.
Good.
Yeah.
All right. So one more example is George's small paper boat floated down the river and kept going until it reached the ocean. Speaking of boats that float, what exactly is Marco Bolzoni building that's so special about these houseboats?
Yeah, because a lot of people make houseboats, but what is special about these? So in the article it says, unusually, the kitchen and living room are above the water's surface, while the bedroom is underwater. Okay.
So that sounds like maybe it's usually the other way around?
Yes. So apparently normally you would have your bedroom upstairs and your kitchen downstairs. Yeah.
Right, exactly. And it says that about the bedroom, it has a huge plastic window created by a firm that usually makes aquariums. Okay, so plastic is an adjective or also a noun. And here it's our next vocabulary word. It's a type of material that makes many things we use today, like bottles, trash bags, plates, even parts of our computers. Plastic can be just about any color, any shape, and it can be soft or hard. So it could also be thick and clear, like glass. Usually people make windows out of glass, but the houseboats here will have a big one made out of plastic. So maybe it will not be as easy to break.
I hope so.
Yeah. So in one example sentence, Danny put her trash in a big plastic bag so it wouldn't get wet, and then she went to throw it away. So it sounds like plastic could also have a lot of uses in construction.
It does. It has a lot of uses. And in this case, it's being... Well, actually, sometimes you can use it to make, plastic bags, but you can also use it to replace glass, which is what this company that makes aquariums was probably doing.
That's right.
So aquariums, what are these? This is a noun which you may have seen before. An aquarium is like a big fish tank, a huge glass box filled with water that fish and underwater plants can live in.
Right.
So normally an aquarium is too big or expensive to have at home. If you have an aquarium, then you're probably a big deal, right?
Right.
But if you've ever been to the zoo, you might have been to an indoor area where you can look at sharks, seals, stingrays, and all other kinds of strange and fantastic sea creatures. That right there is an aquarium.
Right.
Anyway, let's take a look at our example sentence. At the entrance of the hotel was a huge aquarium filled with beautiful tropical fish. Okay, so a big, expensive display, a big glass tank filled with water and fish.
That's right.
Yeah. So back to the article, and it says, however, Bolzoni finds it difficult to make sure this window won't leak.
That sounds tricky.
So he's worried that this window, which is underwater, might leak, and so he wants to make sure it doesn't. Make sure, that's a handy phrase that we can use whenever we want to ensure that something has a certain result. So, confusing? Well, consider this. You're camping and you're setting up your tent. It's windy and you want to make sure that your tent doesn't blow away while you're sleeping. So if you hammer some tent pegs in to keep it fixed in place, you're making sure that it stays in the same place. Okay?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Easy enough. So how do we make sure that this is not going to leak? What's leak, you might ask? Because it sounds like it might be a kind of a problem. Well, a leak, it could be a noun, but in this case, it's a verb. We use leak like a verb. So leak talks about things that are liquid like water or things that are a gas like, I don't know, air or something else that you might have in your house. If they leak, that means they are escaping from a hole or a crack in something. Maybe you have a cup which has a crack in it, and it has water that comes out of it where you don't want the water to come out. That means your cup is leaking, or it's a leaky cup. That's another adjective, leaky. Houseboats, we don't want them to spring a leak or take on water, which means be filled with water. So how is he going to solve the problem? Well, we don't know, but it does say if he can solve this problem, he'll build a total of 90 floating seahorses. That's a lot
big
of...
plans.
Yeah,
big plans.
yeah.
A lot of boats.
That's a lot of boats. After he solves the problem, maybe he can easily do it. So a total of here is a phrase that means kind of the same as up to or as many as. The word total means all things put together. It's used a lot to talk about money when you're paying for things, like the total price. You might also hear it with the adverb totally, which we use like really or very, like I'm totally shocked. A total of shows that we are talking about adding all those boats up together, making 90 floating seahorses.
Right. So that's a lot of boats, a lot of houseboats.
That's right.
And it says in the article that they will float in the calm, shallow water of a harbor, safe from strong waves. So they're floating in shallow water. What kind of water is this? Well, shallow, which is our next special word, is an adjective, and it is the opposite of deep, meaning that we use it to describe containers or bodies of water that measure only a short distance from the top to the bottom. So, for example, if you are standing in shallow water, you can normally stand up. Okay? You don't need to swim when you're in shallow water because it's not very deep. In fact, it might only come up to your knees. When you were a kid, your parents might have only let you go in the shallow end of the swimming pool as well, until you learnt how to swim properly, that is. Now, let's look at our example sentence, which you might have heard before. The water in this swimming pool is very shallow, so please don't dive in.
Because if you dive into shallow water, you're going to probably hit your head or something else very important.
Yeah, it's about as good as diving into an empty pool.
Ouch.
Yeah, ouch.
Very big ouch. Okay, so back to the article. The last project is the Scorpion Tower in Miami, Florida, U.S., designed by the world-famous architect Dame Zaha Hadid. So the Scorpion Tower, that's in the US, so it's quite a long way away from Dubai.
Yes, so we're moving away from Dubai now, and the article says that this enormous tower will contain 83 apartments and cost no less than $480 million to build. Okay, so Scorpion Tower is the nickname of 1000 Museum.
Interesting.
I
Okay.
didn't know that.
Yeah.
So this enormous tower will cost hundreds of millions of dollars to build. Wow, that's a lot of money.
Agree.
It's a lot of tower too, because this is an enormous tower. Enormous is an adjective, and we use it whenever we want to talk about something very, very big. Now, it doesn't have to be something that's physically very big. For example, if I won the lottery, I might be given an enormous amount of money. So much money that I could buy a car, a house, maybe even an island all to myself.
Wow.
But then again, if I spend hours and hours doing my homework, perhaps late into the night, I could say that I spent an enormous amount of time on my homework. So it doesn't matter where you're using it. It always just means very, very big or huge.
Or a lot.
Okay.
Yeah.
Or a lot, yes. Like our example sentence. The wealthy couple bought an enormous home with hundreds and hundreds of rooms. Right, a massive house.
That sounds more like a castle or a palace than a house. Yeah. Okay, so and then let's look at the definition of no less than. So no less than goes back to kind of a total of. It almost sounds almost the same. It literally means the cost won't be anything less than $480 million. It might even be more. But we say no less than or no fewer than, usually because we want to show how important it is that this is something very big. So $480 million is almost 15 billion Taiwanese dollars.
Wow.
That's a lot of money, and we want to make sure you know it's a lot, so we say it's no less than this. So no less than shows it's very important. But the opposite can be said of no more than. So if you say, oh, it'll take no more than an hour, that means only. So instead of saying that it's very important, it's I say like, it's not that important. So no less than shows it's really important. No more than shows it's only this. It's not very much. Okay. So going back to the article, we're talking about revolutionary things again. The Scorpion Tower. Its revolutionary design means that the columns that support it aren't on the inside, but on the outside.
Wow. Just like a scorpion, actually.
Kind of,
yeah,
yes.
their skeletons are on the outside rather than the inside.
I think that's probably why they named this building the Scorpion Tower.
Yeah, that's probably why.
So you're probably wondering right about now, what is a column? So a column is a noun, and it's one of those funny words that's spelled with a M-N at the end, but we only say the M.
I hate
so
those.
column, not column. Okay, column. Imagine a big pole standing up straight. Those poles are made out of something strong like concrete, stone, metal, and they're used to hold up something very, very heavy, like the top of a building. If you've seen architecture from Greece, you've probably seen columns on the outside of buildings, like maybe the Parthenon, where they have columns all around the building. These days, they're mostly inside the buildings themselves, and you can't see them. But Hadid's building, the Scorpion Tower, will have the columns on the outside. And like Sebastian said, they kind of look like big bones. It looks really cool.
Wow.
Yeah.
I need to see this building. Yeah. And it is very revolutionary because the developers hope it will rewrite the rule book about building skyscrapers and become a symbol of Miami. Rewrite the rule book. What could that mean?
Rewrite the rule book is actually our pocket phrase go for today. So let's go ahead and take a look.
Pocket phrase go!
Hola, I am Dora. 亲爱的朋友们，大家好吗？今天我和小猴子扑哧准备要来赛跑了，你也想参加吗？太好了，我得到冠军了。什么？你说跑得慢的小猴子才是冠军？ Oh no, Swiper rewrote the rule book. Swiper made it so that the slowest wins. 改写了规则，跑得慢的才是冠军，真是可恶哦。Swiper, no swiping. Rulebook 就是规则书的意思哦。Write 这个动词呢，则是写。我们在前面加上 re 就有再一次的意思了，像是 replay 重播， redo 重新做一次。所以呢 rewrite 这个动词呢，就是重新写一次，改写的意思。Rewrite the rulebook 就是重新改写规则，意思就是以前我们怎么做，现在改写了规则，现在做事情的方法，现在做事情的方式都跟以前不一样了。The 2018 election rewrote the rulebook on how to run an election. 2018的选战呢，完全改写了游戏规则。Rewrite the rulebook 就是这个意思咯。
Okay, so rewrite the rulebook. They're hoping it will rewrite the rulebook and become a famous icon for the city. Okay, so we have some interesting phrases here. Rewrite the rulebook, which means to completely change the way people do something or the way they think about it. Okay, so we normally use rewrite the rulebook whenever somebody does something that's very, very impressive. So, for example, we could say that a famous filmmaker has rewritten the rulebook on what makes a great scary movie, which means that he has made a movie which was so great and so scary, but also so different from other scary movies that it has completely changed what we look for in a good scary movie. Ugh, gives me chills just thinking about it.
I actually love scary movies, so that sounds like something fun for me.
I hate them.
Oh, okay. Well, anyway, we gotta finish the article up, and you know what they're going to tell you. To see more of these bold building plans, check out Impossible Builds on Discovery Channel.
Right. What have we learned on this show? You need to watch Impossible Builds.
It sounds like a really good show. It really does.
Yeah.
All right. So we're going to go to our For You chat question now, and let's see what we're going to talk about.
For You chat.
So, we're almost out of time for today, but before we go, Kat, a quick question. We've been talking a lot about buildings.
That's right.
If you could live in any type of structure, what would it be and why?
Okay, this might sound like a really strange answer, but I think the thing that I would like to live in the most would be a tiny house.
Those are so cute.
Yes.
Yeah.
The tiny house movement, I know it's kind of silly because there's not a lot of space, but the way I would make up for having a tiny house is having a big yard and a big patio where I could do a lot of things outside and kind of use the same space for a lot of different reasons. How about
it would make
you?
your house look even smaller.
Yes, it would.
Even
and it would
smaller,
just look so cute. And I feel like that would be a very happy place to live.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, how about you?
How about me? Well, I do love being in the city. I love kind of all the hustle and bustle of urban life. But I don't like people that much.
Oh, I see.
So
you like the buildings, you just would not like to be around the people.
Yes. I mean,
see.
an empty city would be best. But
You should wait for Chinese New Year.
Yeah. But what kind of structure? I would live in a very, very tall tower. I would live at the very, very top.
Wow.
Okay. Yeah. So this thing I'm going to say is 100, 200 stories tall.
So it's basically the Burj Khalifa.
Basically.
Or Taipei 101.
One of 5 buildings around the world.
I see.
Yes.
Wow.
But mine would have this huge sky garden at the top. So I could feel like I'm out in the middle of nature, high up in the clouds, far away from all the people and the cars and the noise, but in the middle of the city. So I can see for miles and miles from my window. I have this incredible view. And yet, if I want to go down and really, get downtown with everybody, then all I have to do is just jump in the elevator and hit 0.
There you go.
Yeah. So yeah, that's what it would be for me. Anyway, now it's time for you guys to talk about what kind of structure you would like to live in.
Right.
So for English for You, I'm Seb.
And I'm Kat. And we will see you next time.
Impossible builds. Another Impossible Builds project is also in Dubai. However, architect Marco Bolzoni isn't developing an island. He's building a houseboat called the Floating Seahorse. Unusually, the kitchen and living room are above the water's surface, while the bedroom is underwater. It has a huge plastic window created by a firm that usually makes aquariums. However, Bolzoni finds it difficult to make sure this window won't leak. If he can solve this problem, he'll build a total of 90 floating seahorses. They will float in the calm, shallow water of a harbor, safe from strong waves. The last project is the Scorpion Tower in Miami, Florida, U.S., designed by the world's famous architect, Dame Zaha Hadid. This enormous tower will contain 83 apartments and cost no less than $480 million to build. Its revolutionary design means that the columns that support it aren't on the inside, but the outside. The developers hope it will rewrite the rule book about building skyscrapers and become a symbol of Miami. To see more of these bold building plans, check out Impossible Builds on Discovery Channel.
Vocabulary Review.
Float. I don't think this boat could still float with so many people on it. Plastic. You should bring your own bag to the supermarket instead of using the plastic bags they provide. Aquarium. Alan decorated his aquarium with little stones and a mini moai statue. Leak. Oh no! The water leaked from my bottle and got all the books in my bag wet. Shallow. According to the lifeguard, children are only allowed to play in the shallow area of this beach. Enormous. We were all amazed by the enormous elephants and giraffes when we visited the zoo yesterday.